Welcome to the Live Up. Oh no, I messed up already. I've spilled beer all over the place.
Listeners, it's St. Patrick's Day when we're recording this, and we should be off to a better start.
I spilled my Irish red ale all over my setup.
Slancha.
All right, I could do this. Welcome to the Live Up podcast, where we watch the movies from our youth to see if they live up. Quick note on how this will go. We will review, discuss, and score the movie in question to see if it lives up to us as adults and whether it lives up to kids today. I'm Jess Louderman.
And I'm Amanda Treat. On today's episode, it's an unexpected venture into Nazi scientists and eugenics, but also it's fun. There's matching outfits and Hawaiian shirts and fun, right? It's 1988's Twins, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Jess, what is your history with Twins?
I think it's fun. You sounded like you were questioning whether it was fun, but I'm here to tell you
there was kind of a Nazi scientist eugenics thing going on at the beginning of this.
Too.
I was taken by surprise.
I did too. So I watched this a lot. It was one of those, for some reason, it's attached to Coming to America in my head. Maybe it was on back to back. I don't know. Maybe I was the same age when I was watching it a lot. This is one that my brother and I watched together a lot. And actually, he's the one that requested we do an episode on Twins out of genuine curiosity over whether this lives up. So we're here to, hi Jeremy, we're here to
shout out
tell
to Jeremy
you.
Latterman. Hello.
Hello. Because he had texted me that oh man, I think it might be cringy. I didn't watch it with my kids because my memory of it from 30 plus years ago, I thought similar to Teen Wolf. I'm well, maybe I should just watch this one myself. And yeah. I kind of think they could have watched it. I do. It would have been okay.
But you didn't realize that till the end, I'm betting. Because I had
realized that to the end.
I remember watching this with my parents. In my head, I thought I saw this in the theater with my mother and my sister Emily, except this would have been right after our youngest sister Lydia was born. So it doesn't make sense that my mother would have been in the movie theater, but all right. Maybe our dad took us.
Memory's a funny thing.
Yeah. All I know is we definitely watched this with a parent, and there's this feeling the whole time you don't know if they're about to drop a big sex scene or something cringy's about to happen. It just has this vibe about it, ooh. And I can't imagine now either my mother or my father being on the edge of their seat waiting for something really inappropriate to happen with two little,
that would have been me,
10-year-old and a 9-year-old being yay, this is silly, look at the short guy and the tall guy together, but oh god, is he about to lose his virginity very graphically? What's about to happen here?
Spoiler alert, that does happen, but not
it
that
does
graphic.
But it's not graphic. They're talking for quite a chunk of this movie about how Arnie's character is a 35-year-old virgin, and
I know
he's gotta lose it, and just I don't know. So I think I only saw this movie probably once or twice, maybe just once.
No. That makes me sad because sometimes, you don't have the proper nostalgia.
It's been a while.
Now I know this was on TV a lot because you did not watch that stuff.
I didn't have cable, so I did not watch this a lot.
Yeah, I watched this all the time.
This has been a very, very long time, probably decades since I've seen this movie. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm coming prepared to make my case, is all I'm going to say.
Before you make your case, would you like to give us a plot summary of the movie Twins?
Yes. It's about a sheltered hunk and a dumb crook who turn out to be long-lost twins. They become on-again, off-again crooks together, and it's much sweeter than it has any right to be. And that's my summary. Okay. And also, if you really know nothing about this movie, and you probably should just pause the podcast and watch it, it's really about the ongoing gag of the physical differences between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, and that they're actually twins. So that's just an ongoing gag.
Yeah, we'll talk about this, but it did have that vibe of this could have been a Saturday Night Live skit that got turned into a feature-length movie.
A little bit, maybe, yeah.
But before we talk about that, I love to do my nerdy notes. So just tiny amount of research. There wasn't behind the scenes drama, although there was one thing about Danny DeVito apparently filling a cigar with marijuana and giving it to Arnold Schwarzenegger and getting it really high before a scene.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger has talked about marijuana when there's video footage of him in his 20s before he was an actor talking about smoking pot while he's bulking up. I'm pretty sure there is. I might have made that up.
he definitely can talk about getting high while filming this movie because Danny DeVito was sneaking him stuff unbeknownst to him, and then he couldn't remember his lines for some of the scenes.
Hilarious.
But
I love Danny DeVito.
he's a funny little guy. Besides that, though, I didn't find anything scandalous. It wasn't, we talked about like Groundhog Day, the directors fighting with Bill Murray kind of stuff, or, actresses storming off the set on different movies. Like, nothing wrong with this. Sounds like it was a lot of fun to make. This was Arnold's first real comedy.
Oh, really?
Yes. And then it set off a whole decade of Arnold Schwarzenegger comedies like Kindergarten Cop and Jingle All the Way and Junior.
Yeah.
And honestly, I once again got this as a DVD from the Boston Public Library, and it only came available as the Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy set, which included Junior and Kindergarten Cop. I did not watch the other two movies yet. I haven't returned it yet, so
you could still watch it. I feel like Kindergarten Cop has to be a future episode.
It might be. Honestly, I wonder if that lives up. I have no idea.
Curious.
Arnold was trying to venture out from being like the scary Terminator type or the muscly guy, and he agreed to do this movie for no salary, but he got a 20% box office profit.
20%?
20%, which means he made more money off of Twins than all of the Terminator movies. He got $35 million when everything was cashed out on this movie. So
wow, his agent deserves a raise.
Described this as the smartest business decision he ever made while he was working in film, because it launched his comedy career, if you want to call it that, and he made a ton of money.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think of him as a comedic actor, other than being a former governor and the Terminator. I feel like he's more memorable to me as a funny guy.
I mean, he's still very much action Arnold Schwarzenegger in my head, but
in my heart, Amanda, he is a comedian.
So as recently as I want to say a couple of years ago, there is a sequel to this greenlit that is called Triplets. That adds Eddie Murphy as the third member. I absolutely am not. However, I think when they lost Ivan Reitman, who's the director, that kind of squashed the whole thing. But they were on board to get Eddie Murphy and do a Triplets movie.
That would have been gold, I think.
I go back and forth on how that could have been, because again, it could have been like just the extension of a Saturday Night Live skit into a movie, and we've already sort of played this bit through this movie, or it could have gone in a wildly different direction and maybe it would have been amazing. I don't know,
but it's Eddie Murphy. I mean, I know, listeners, we've done a Coming to America episode, and I didn't read your notes, so I didn't realize you were going to reference that. And I had mentioned Coming to America and this movie are like entwined in my head.
They really could have been entwined. He could have been his character from Coming to America, like, oh, this whole time you're an African prince and a triplet.
Would have been amazing. I just think that had more potential to be amazing than dumb. That's my feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, because just the power of Eddie Murphy would have been amazing.
So I do need to take
Amanda
my
is skeptical. I just want to say, because I could see the look on her face.
Yeah, I cannot picture a script where this does not feel like a bit that went on too long during the like post weekend update part of Saturday Night Live. But prove me wrong. I want to see the script. I'll probably Google around and see if anyone can dig it up for me. On a slightly darker, nerdy note, this was directed by Ivan Reitman. He did Ghostbusters. He did a lot of Bill Murray movies. He's the father of Jason Reitman, who directed Juno and all kinds of really good movies.
Hey! What you trying to
like
say?
Ivan Reitman's movies, like we said, Ghostbusters didn't live up. I think he did Meatballs. I'm trying to think what else he did. It was a series of just kind of like those comedies where the humor is getting a little bit sexist and like it's a bunch of bros doing their thing. Whatever. He's a great director. I just think his son's a little bit better. That's all.
I mean, I think that's fair.
But my dark note here is there's tones we mentioned in the beginning of this movie where it is sort of implied that there's a Nazi scientist leading the experiment here. Ivan Reitman's parents were Holocaust survivors, so it's kind of weird that is still in there, that they could have maybe adjusted that.
We should just, I know it's nerdy note time, but just to dive into that part of the plot, because I completely forgot about it, is that it is like a team of scientists are trying to essentially create the perfect man, if you will.
It's
and they're
a eugenics experiment.
Is. Well, yeah, it's just trying to Aryan. I mean, I'm not going to use the word Aryan, but kinda. Yeah, so I did find that odd.
So the original title of this movie was called The Experiment, which sounds even darker. Like twins sounds like fun, but like The Experiment, it's like, ooh, okay. And they actually changed the title when Arnold Schwarzenegger signed on because they knew his father had a history with the Nazi party. And so they were like, let's downplay the Nazi experiment part of it and make it funnier because it's a short guy and a tall guy. Yay. And they really don't make anything of it. Which,
no, they don't.
Again,
it's just the start. It's just the premise. It's like how every Disney movie features orphans as kids. It's just the starting premise.
It's weird that they didn't find a workaround for that, or at least cast an actor as the scientist who didn't have a German accent.
What's up?
Like,
so
I know
wrote that down right away. Before it dawned on me that I remembered it was about an experiment kind of thing. Yeah. I was like, why does it like a vaguely German accent? I was like, why?
My theory is the same thing they did with Gal Gadot when they cast her as Wonder Woman. They made that whole mythical island that she comes from have her accent. Like she's got an Israeli American accent. Right. And so they just, everybody who's a native English speaker imitated her accent to be like, oh, this is her accent because she's from this mythical island. Here they have Arnold Schwarzenegger who can't hide his accent.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I think they gave his scientist father figure the same accent as Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it sounds like a Nazi scientist because Arnold Schwarzenegger is the son of a Nazi party member, which he's been open about, and like we're not judging.
His videos explaining about it are actually really almost moving. Like they're good.
Yeah.
Not. I should explain that they're good they're not like pro-Nazi moving. Like they're interesting because he talks about it from.
He talks about how his father gets pulled into something and that you can believe in something without questioning it. I digress. Them using Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent as the baseline for how the scientist who taught him to speak English speaks
totally makes sense. And if they tried to make Arnold not have that accent, it would be weird. I mean, that's just who he is. It's part of the funniness to me, is his accent in a way.
On a lighter note, there is commentary out there from Jason Momoa saying that he would love to do a remake of this movie with his Game of Thrones co-star Peter Dinklage, and I can visualize that. That actually would be funny to have those two paired together as twins.
It could be. If I'm not sure Jason Momoa is as funny to me as Arnold Schwarzenegger,
I think
but
he's funnier actually. Like he's very charismatic. Yeah,
he's charismatic for sure.
He always gets cast as the action guy, and I think he's genuinely funny too. But so if someone wants to greenlight that and not have a Nazi scientist
Hollywood
at
listens,
the beginning,
right? We manifested Beetlejuice, including the title, without knowing about it. So maybe it's going to happen.
Two other really quick random trivia things. So the main characters in this, the twins, are Julius and Vincent. Danny DeVito would go on to produce the movie Pulp Fiction a few years later, and the main characters in that are Jules and Vincent, which maybe
he produced Pulp Fiction?
Yes, he did.
I did not know that.
So I don't know if he had Tarantino write that in or how that ended up. That seems too coincidental to be an accident.
Totally too coincidental. You're like spouting knowledge to me today. It's fun.
And then the final one, it's the lightest note I can come up with. We like to talk about how things get translated, especially the titles of our movies that we review. Please see our Die Hard episode. But in the country of Azerbaijan, the English title got translated into their native language as something that is loosely Zombie 42, 2 times the death.
What? That's insane. That's unhinged.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the zombie thing comes from, but yeah, 2 times the death with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Interesting.
So. Okay. Anyway, those are my nerdy notes. All right. Well, we like to go character by character through our films as we review them, and we need to start with the biggest elephant in the room, Julius, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jess,
The
what
biggest.
do you think of his performance in this movie?
So I've given it away. I think he's very funny. Just the gag, like I referenced earlier, of big, muscly Arnold with his accent juxtaposed against Vincent, like Danny DeVito, being like this short crook, essentially. It's still funny to me. And I really enjoyed the innocence of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, just if folks don't remember, he's like on this picturesque island with one of his scientist fathers, and then he learns his origins of he has six fathers, which I think is genetically impossible. And he
Yeah.
knows he has a twin brother and a mother. And he basically, for some reason, gets handed a suitcase of cash, gets on a plane,
That I
and
question. Yeah.
yeah, to go find them. And his character's premise is that he's totally sheltered and innocent, and he's in a total, this new world that is reality. And I found it really funny, like his innocence to be funny.
So it's definitely a fish out of water
Yes.
storyline for him. Backing up to this island for a second, where there may or may not be a Nazi scientist running the show, I can't get over it. Just starts right out with when he turned 35, I told him he had a twin brother. And then he's so interested in learning about his brother that he has to leave the island, and they just let him go. And there's
Yeah.
just something missing there where what was the purpose of this experiment where you made this perfect person? Because they're panning around. There's the dumbbells he's lifting and the books that he's reading, and he's fluent in all these languages. They've clearly invested a ton of money in this. They've got him what did they say? It was like 35 miles from the nearest island. They like put him in a little raft with a suitcase full of money and just like, good luck.
Yeah.
Go past Wilson the volleyball as you're paddling out. Like, what? Like, what was the point of the experiment if they're just going
I
to let
think
him
it's that
paddle
because
away?
they shut it down. They say later that they shut down the experiment. So then they're left with these two babies. One goes to an orphanage, and one, I guess the scientist's father got attached and was like intellectually curious, but they
Oh,
don't.
I took it as the experiment had been going on the whole time for 35
Oh,
years. Like, let's see if
maybe.
we can make
It
this
doesn't
perfect
matter.
person.
It
It
doesn't matter.
does, because it makes it seem just like we were casually living on an island, and then he decided to go to LA, but just no, you were running a eugenics experiment out there, and then you just kind of went, oh, you want to meet your brother? Okay, cool. Here's a paddle. There's the raft. Like, it just, the setup didn't make sense to me at all. Like, it just seemed
Yeah.
far-fetched.
I've learned to accept the premise, and it didn't bother me this time around. I mean, it bothered you clearly for this.
There's just dark fucking shit in this movie, but like then they're matching their outfits and ha
But
ha
they have
ha, isn't
matching
that funny?
outfits. What more
Like
do you
it just
want, Amanda? But okay, but once
yeah,
you
there's
get
a
past
mismatch
that,
here.
all right, listeners, if you can get past this, as most of us probably do, no offense, and
Just
but
saying, the first 5 minutes is supposed to set the tone for any movie.
it struck me as weird, but it didn't overpower the other charming aspects of it. And I think Julius's premise is that it is the fish out of water, and it's kind of funny. Somebody attempts to essentially steal his suitcase worth of cash, and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger like kicks the shit out of them, and then he apologizes and is really concerned about how he might have hurt them. So I found that innocence to be funny. Like he's also unaware of the fact that he is essentially this specimen of a man, like crazy muscles, walking around with like a bodybuilder's build, and he's like unaware that that's unique. I like that he bends his morals to protect his brother. He's like, I shouldn't do this, but now I'm going to kick the shit out of these guys who are trying to beat up my brother, even though my brother's kind of a crook. So I found that to be kind of endearing. And I don't know if many other people could pull that off.
No, I think you needed a very specific actor to play the specimen brother. And
Yeah.
yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger is just uniquely physically different than Danny DeVito and most people. So yeah, no, it's funny, and they dress him like a dork. He's wearing
They
like
do.
shorts and like giant socks and his Converse sneakers with a blazer, and
With a blazer. I love the blazer.
he plays a decent idiot fish out of water. I mean, he's supposed to be a genius, but like socially an idiot.
Socially an idiot for
No
sure.
street smarts at all.
Do you find it kind of sweet when one of the sisters clearly like has the hots for him, is trying to seduce him, and he's intellectually aware that she's trying to seduce him, and they're in the hotel room, and then he just is like, okay, what do we do now? And it's so adorable to me because like I don't know, it's cute that
It's
like
very innocent. Yeah.
very innocent. He's like, I don't know, tell me what to do. And I guess I find that to be not cringy. I found it to be kind of adorable.
That was not the sex scene I thought we had coming, because like
Exactly.
this movie felt like it was setting us up for something a little grotesque, and so luckily it was very polite and consent filled.
Yeah. He pulls it off for me because I think
Yeah.
he has a believable brotherly love, even if it's ridiculous, because he's innocent. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to love my brother. So yeah, he's a crook, but now I'm a crook too, kind of.
It did get me thinking about other movies we've watched, or just movies all of us have seen our whole lives, where there's always, when you put the innocent with the streetwise character
Yeah,
together, and
it's
there's
classic.
like, they kind of have to meet in the middle. So I was almost thinking like Edward Scissorhands for this
Yeah, a
character,
little
because,
bit.
Edward comes down from his mountain castle thing and doesn't know how the world works, but they kind of slowly talk him into crime accidentally or not. Um, and just kind of that glazed look on his face. Arnold's doing a bit of that here too, like the glazed, I don't know what's happening, but just keep smiling awkwardly. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't want to say it's a movie trope, but it is a little bit of the like put the innocent with the criminal and see what happens. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I give him
found
a
it
pass on this. I think the more interesting character for both of us is probably Vincent, played by Danny DeVito, who
100%.
starts off cartoonishly slimeball evil. I mean, oh,
I
the
wouldn't
greasy
say evil.
ponytail. It's a little
Slimeball.
evil at the beginning. He just doesn't have a moral compass at the
No,
beginning.
but he's more of a slimeball low life than like actively evil, I think. I'm really trying to soften the blow for you, Treat, because come on, man, because he's just like a shitty crook. How
He's a
evil could you
shitty crook,
be?
but he's shitty to his girlfriends. He owes
Yeah.
everybody money. He's like the lowest of the low lives and just
Yeah, totally.
sliming
He's a
his
low
way
life.
around. I really did not like, they worked it in there and brought it up twice, the fact that he seduced a nun at age
Yeah, that's
12
so
and got kicked out of
weird.
the convent, where
Yeah.
the second time around when they brought it up, it almost made it sound like, oh wait, no, was he being sexually abused? But the movie's kind of taking this stance like this is a notch in his belt, like he was such a street smart cool guy that he seduced a nun and got her kicked out of the convent when he was 12 years old. It's such a creepy detail.
It is.
I didn't like them including that, and they went out of their way to include it a second time to make sure we really caught that. It was just like, oh dudes, come on.
This is something that kind of must have gone over my head at age like 8 or 9 when I saw this. You didn't really need it.
No, I really wish that hadn't been in there. But yeah, that's supposed to be a formative moment in his life. So got the nun kicked out of the convent. He stole all the money from the convent. They imply that he was always bad because they show like a image of babies at the beginning, and he's like the shorter, dark-haired one, and you see him like kicking the other baby.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, he was always a jerk. Like this is nature, not nurture kind of thing.
You're going deep here.
I'm going deep, but they're putting it in there for me to see.
I think they're putting it in there because there was a movie for kids. And they just want to make sure you understand. Like, again, I didn't watch it with my kids, with my son being 8. I think those cues would have helped him understand.
Not the
it.
nun part.
Not the nun part, which he
that
wouldn't
part,
have understood anyway.
They didn't need that in there. So, yeah, he starts out, it's supposed to be like, by nature, you have to watch him be an absolute awful person for like the first third of the movie, but then you start to see some cracks in it. And I don't think anyone other than Danny DeVito could have pulled this off. You genuinely feel bad for him by the middle of this movie. He had a brother and a family and a mother that were withheld from him, and like, never experienced Christmas and never experienced love. You just at the beginning, but like he is able to pull you into a different place and feel bad for him by the middle. So
yeah, and that's what I loved about him, and I think I'd love more as an adult. Clearly he experienced trauma and he has like this fear of rejection and all that stuff. It's really good. You see that he has a heart under there. I actually forgot all about the quest to find the mom, but they're sort of on their way to commit a crime, and they have the two sisters slash girlfriends in the car too, and they decide to swing by to try to the last known location of where their mom is.
yeah, Julius's focus is let's reunite the entire family. And
Yeah.
do on the side of this trip, we'll drop off this thing that Vincent wants to drop off. Whereas Vincent's like, we are dropping off this thing, and on the side, I guess we can meet our mother.
But I think it's really sweet because by the time he's going to meet his mother, he has flowers. He's dressed really nice. He's nervous. And he says to what's her face, like, oh, do I look okay?
His
like
girlfriend, Linda. Yeah.
There's a sweetness to that because it sort of like reveals a little bit that he really wants this and he's like vulnerable. And then, you know, it turns out that they were falsely led to believe that the mother died. And he gets so upset at this that he has an emotional breakdown and completely storms off. He completely loses it, ditches Julius, ditches the two women, and then speeds off to be a criminal, essentially.
Yeah, he goes back to the person he was.
But it was just because he was like felt rejected all over again. It's pretty on the nose, but I liked it. So I thought it was like well done. And I think Danny DeVito has these like cute, endearing moments with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I actually really like when he's teaching Arnold Schwarzenegger, Julius, how to make a lasagna in the microwave, because it's funny to me because it's such a bachelor guy thing, but it was also kind of like sweet. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a cute brotherly moment. And if you're coming from an island and have never seen a microwave before, because all you have is fresh fruit to eat at every meal.
Exactly.
Then yeah, no, it is a sweet moment. It like reminded me of there's a scene in Shrek where you see him by himself in his little bog hut thing.
Yeah.
How he like takes time to set the table and light a candle, and he has his whole
that's right,
kind of cozy routine that he does, and you're seeing the Danny DeVito version of that where he's teaching Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is how we microwave lasagna.
I think that's funny.
Put a little extra Parmesan on it.
He really makes you want to root for him. Like you kind of want him to reform. You want him to be a good brother. Like I think Danny DeVito is like absolutely perfect at this because he's cute and funny and like
we all love him from everything else we've seen him in. Like he's just a charming actor. So,
but this is what I remember him from more than anything else. Is this in my child's brain? The two of them are forever these roles to me. Even though I'd seen Arnold Schwarzenegger is also the Terminator to me too. But
yeah,
you know,
and Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies is pretty awesome. But we'll do that another day.
That is another episode we have to do. Yeah,
that's going to be an After Dark, but that's going to be a lot.
Oh, is it rated R?
Oh my God, yeah.
Of course it is. Yeah, I don't even want to ask that question.
Yeah, like sex workers and terrorism, and
it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah.
All right, we've got some other characters in this movie. Vincent has a girlfriend, Linda, played by Chloe Webb, who I know her. She's a character actress. She pops up in everything. I know her mostly from Practical Magic because she's sort of the witch adjacent friend of Sandra Bullock's character.
My only note is you could do better, girl. Because, okay, she and her sister, they work in retail of some kind. She has this boyfriend, Danny DeVito. He is a lowlife who cheats on her.
And takes her money over and over again to the point that her sister's like, do not give him any money if you're getting back together with him. No money.
But then they decide to go on this road trip to commit crimes / meet the birth mom. And she's like, oh, yeah, we got fired because we're going on this road trip from their retail job. So I'm like, you gave up the job too? Like, what?
Yeah, we're all in on Vincent having a change of character and a change of heart. Like, I don't know what's up with this woman. And as they're getting into the car to go on the road trip, the neighbor yells over the hedges, like, don't give him any money. Don't sleep with him. Something that, yeah, just implying that he's just burned all the bridges with every woman in Los Angeles. And for some reason, she's still with him.
She sees that heart. But no, it's not it's a very two-dimensional character. I honestly forgot that there were women in this. Like, it's just, it's beside the point.
I know. You need a pair of sisters to, like, round them out. But honestly,
I think if you redid it today, you probably would, you would probably soften his slime ballness, but still, in some ways.
Or at least give her an angle. Like, what does she see? Is she, like, playing him up for something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, make her a slime ball, too, would actually be the funny way to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she can't just be on the receiving end of every
it would be funny if she was like
doing.
Also kind of a crook. But she was sort of nothing. She was just sort of there. I mean,
yeah, she just comes across as a naive tool.
Yeah,
she is a tool for him to be like an awful person too.
A little bit.
All right. So sorry, Chloe Webb. They should have given you more to do other than sticking you in like 4-inch high heels to go on a road
So
trip. In
many
the
high heels.
desert, your heels are going to sink right into all of that terrain.
Also,
Ridiculous.
just want to say that they go to meet the mom, who they think is the mom, and they're like in mini skirts. I mean, they dress them like hookers. It's kind of
They do.
okay.
Yeah. And we're saying them because Linda has a sister, Marnie, who's played by Kelly Preston, aka Mrs. John Travolta. Rest in
No.
peace. Oh,
Did,
yeah. No, they were married for years. I
wait,
mean,
I
she,
did not
she
realize who
passed
that
away from
was.
breast cancer a few years ago.
I didn't realize that was Kelly Preston. I
That was
swear to
Kelly
God.
Preston.
I
Yeah. I mean, her hair is very, very 80s in this movie. It doesn't look like Kelly Preston. It looks like Gem and the Holograms.
oh my God, that is
Really big
exactly
hair.
what she looks like. Yeah, like she's just the hot blonde. She's kind of like a little bit of a less toxic Pamela from Teen Wolf is how I thought of her. So, like, she's just the hot blonde. I don't know.
Yeah. She's meant to be like the introvert sister, but then they just don't give her any lines. Like she barely says anything. And they make it seem like she's never dated anyone either. So they pair her up with Julius and it's kind of like sweet and awkward.
Yeah, but
like,
she's like this hot blonde who wears like mini skirts all the time. Not believable that she's like never dated
that
anyone.
she's never dated a guy. And that
It's kind of weird. And
there's a whole back and forth with her and her sister, Linda, because Linda, going back to Danny DeVito's character, is like, "You're just jealous. I have a hot boyfriend." And you see the sister being like, "Wah, wah." And just very unbelievable that Marnie has never had a boyfriend.
I mean, there's some elements of humor because she's so unabashedly like has the hots for Julius, the Arnold Schwarzenegger character. She like goes into the house and sees him get out of the shower. There's a lot of on the nose scenes like that, which is a little bit humorous. I don't mind the objectification of a guy. It's a weird thing for me to say.
Sure.
I'm the lesbian of the podcast. I always have to remind folks. But so I thought that was a little bit of a role reversal that was kind of fun for the time, but overall kind of a nothing. And
Yeah.
I think that for kids today might be a little cringe.
Yeah.
You know, the high heels, the high bangs, they're going to go give up their jobs to go on a road trip. I mean, it feels strange. So
That they were barely invited on. Like,
that they were barely invited on. I mean, it was all like ridiculous.
yeah. And again, 4-inch heels in the desert, not good for walking on that much sand. Just,
Yeah.
we're going through New Mexico and Texas. Just,
She played a good role in that. She was like a mirror to like Julius's innocence, which is
Yes.
kind of fun. So,
but like, there's no evolution. They don't give her anything to do.
nothing. Just the hot
I-
blonde.
Marnie could have been I don't know, I'm going to another movie trope, but like she could have been like the nerdy shy girl, and then she sees Julius, and then they give her a big makeover scene, and suddenly she
Which
comes
we
out looking
don't
like
love those
Marnie.
things either, but that was like super prevalent in the 80s.
But at least there would have been an evolution.
Again, going back to Teen Wolf with Pamela, the other hot blonde, that she maybe she kind of looks like that actress. In the episode that you and I did, we like gave epilogues to Pamela and to Booth. Like
Yeah.
Marnie is not even worth an epilogue or prologue. There's just not anything there.
Is Julius just gonna get bored with her eventually?
If you did this again, you'd make that if you even had that character in there, because I don't even know if you need
Yeah.
it. You'd probably make her a little smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Or at
more
least-
like what's her face from Major League, the
Yeah, Renee Russo's
Renee
character,
Russo's
is
character, yeah.
really tough and street smart and is questioning what the heck is going on here.
Ultimately, it wasn't about them, and they're sort of just like beside the
No,
point.
they're eye candy.
They're not doing anything. So in some ways, it could make it neutral, it could make it slightly cringe, but I think it's ultimately a little neutral, probably just a wasted opportunity for more humor.
All right. We have a couple more. There's a ton of people in this movie, but a couple more people we specifically want to talk about. We have Marianne, who is the mother of the twins, who is played at the very beginning by Heather Graham, who's uncredited. Did you notice her in this?
I did not recognize her.
She's
At
so
all.
young. I had to look it up. She was 17 years old when she played
Oh,
the
wow.
mother in the flashback bit that's like black and white
I
with
did
her and the
not
six fathers.
clock her as Heather Graham.
I
Wow.
find that kind of creepy that they cast a 17-year-old as the perfect mother for this experiment.
You're
ugh.
just really stuck on that origin story is really bugging you.
It just doesn't match the tone of this movie at
Just
all.
accept it. Accept it. Just go with the gag.
it gets darker than a gag. That's where my problem is.
It's not dark.
So Heather Graham doesn't even make the end credits, but she's in this briefly. It's one of her first movies. And then Bonnie Bartlett is playing the older Marianne.
We sort of skipped over this before, but initially the Marianne character does meet Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character when they go on their quest, and Danny DeVito has his flowers. And
she's the one who tells them that,
yes,
oh, your mother's dead, because she doesn't buy it that the two of them are her.
I mean, would
children.
you buy it? I mean, it's like...
No, and she makes a comment about how she's being harassed by people who are trying to buy her real estate and just being spammed, basically. So she thinks these two guys are con artists, and she sends them packing.
But part of the plot is that she was told that the singular baby died at birth, and that Vincent was told that his mother died.
Both of them were told that their mother died.
Right.
They unpack that. She doesn't show up until the very end. She's a little bit of a tough lady, street smart, cynical.
She did punch a scientist in the face,
she
which
does,
I appreciate.
By the end. She shows up at the very end where Vincent and Julius have gotten their act together, and they're in this
They're not crooks anymore.
Middle ground. They're not idiots, and they have their street smarts, but they're not doing any more criminal activities.
They're still dressing alike.
They're in the middle ground. She shows up, and it was notable to me. She shows up with just one teddy bear.
Oh.
She knows there's two of them. Why would you bring just one teddy bear? Also, you know they're 35.
Like, you know they're 35.
They're 35-year-olds. You show up with one teddy bear. Like, I don't know.
Maybe one big teddy bear and one tiny little teddy bear would be
that would have been even better. Like a normal, like a Beanie Baby and a normal sized teddy bear.
Like one from a carnival, like a giant one.
Those are all of the people I would consider good guys in this movie, but we have so many bad guys in this movie.
I forgot that there were two different sets of bad guys in this movie, but it's
like more than two different. So Vincent's got his crime ring. Some of them are allies, but some of them will flip on him. He's got David Caruso in a parking garage. But then there's like escalating levels of criminal organizations, and there's a hitman now, and there's like a billionaire who's also a bad guy. On the other side, you've got the doctors who are running this, I'm going to keep calling it a eugenics experiment.
Oh my God,
like, they're bad guys too.
I mean, they kind of are bad guys. But...
They are, yeah. No, like one of them, before they introduce him, they're just like, oh yeah, that doctor, he's a dickhead. He's the one who organized the whole thing. Like, they set him up to just be awful, and then he comes in and he's awful.
With a German accent too, I think.
No, there...
some sort of accent.
I don't even remember what his accent was. He gets punched in the face in the end.
He gets punched in the face, so it's all fine.
And I guess they're the good guy bad... Not good guy bad guys, but like the lesser... There's just so many directions of bad guys going on in this movie.
I prefer the dumb bad guys, like the ones that are like just the low lives, the way Danny DeVito is. Danny DeVito clearly owes the money. It's like a set of brothers.
Yeah, there's an idiot family, and there's more of them every time they do a scene with them. It's just like, just one of them. Oh, now he's got a brother. Oh, now he's got another brother. And like,
but they're so dumb. It's
the Clean brothers. Yeah, no, they're kind of morons, but they're big thuggish types. They end up chasing them all the way to a dance club in Texas and literally get their unconscious bodies danced around at a club after Arnold knocks them out. They feel like idiot props. They're like the dumbest bad guys in this movie.
They are the dumbest bad guys in this movie. A favorite bad guy scene is when the dumb bad guys interact with the assassin bad guy in Danny DeVito's apartment. Like, they're both looking for Danny DeVito for very different reasons. And then the assassin guy ends up shooting one of the guys in the leg and leaves. One of the brothers is like, so do you want a doctor or something? Like, it's so
yeah, they're morons.
Total morons. And they were already gotten the shit beat out of them by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I think that's when you know, like, okay, this assassin guy is a whole different, we're dealing with a different level.
Yeah, so he's the baddest bad guy, but he is very orderly. He has a set of rules, and he's kind of a badass. What is his name? Mr. Webster? So he's ominous, but you understand, okay, he is going to act like this because he really just wants to deliver this engine to the client. And
yeah.
Then you've got Danny DeVito not even realizing he's got this $5 million engine driving around in the trunk. I mean, Danny DeVito's character is kind of the chaotic bad guy.
He's the chaos agent.
The Mr. Webster, bad.
Yeah.
Clayton brothers are just stupid bad.
I think kids wouldn't mind it. Young kids would be fine. They're like the typical goons.
You're hinting at this, but there are maybe too many levels of bad guys going on. That
It's a little confusing. I mean,
yeah, because the Clayton brothers are very slapsticky and stupid. And
Yeah.
I think that goes with the like funny, silly side of this movie. But then the Mr. Webster assassin is just very dark and serious, and the mood changes whenever he's on screen. I still think he kind of looked cool and that he is a very orderly assassin. But it's a wholly different movie every time he's in it. So like having the two types of bad guys clash in the apartment scene, it ends up being funny, but at the same time it's just like two different movies have walked into the same room.
I guess it adds to the dramatic tension, if you will. I mean, I'm not saying that it's like the best quality dramatic tension, but it's simple enough to follow. Some of them are funny.
So I want to talk about the geography of this movie, because on top of everything else we're describing, the fish out of water and the comedy and the mismatched pairs, and it's also kind of a road trip quest movie.
It is, yeah.
We start with the island, which I then wrote lair. Like,
Oh my God. It's a beautiful tropical island that happens to practice
except
eugenics.
there could be an underground lair that we don't see because there's a Nazi scientist running this place. Like there could be. What if there's a sequel and there's a whole like elevator down to the dark cavern that Arnold's character never saw before? And oh my God, this whole time we are living in the bad guy lair. That could be funny for triplets. I'm just putting this out there. I still haven't seen the screenplay.
I want to go back in time and write this movie as triplets with Eddie Murphy. That's what you need to do.
That script is somewhere out there. We will find this. Listeners, if you do this Google search before we do, please shoot it our way. You know where to find us.
Actually, plug at LiveUpPod. Gmail is where you find us, as well as at LiveUpPod and all the socials.
And liveuppod.com.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, I keep forgetting at the beginning of the podcast to say, I'm going to do it now. Guys, like and subscribe. That's what you got to do. Subscribe, write a review.
Yeah.
I might cut this. Whatever.
Yeah. From the perfect tropical island that secretly has an underground evil bad guy.
Oh my God.
We go to Los Angeles because this is one brother looking for the other. It's time for a different U.S. city to look like a 1980s hellscape. New York, you get a break.
You get a break, New York.
Chicago, you get a break.
Chicago.
We're going to make L.A. look so crime infested, except Arnold Schwarzenegger's walking around eating all the street cart food. But like, yeah, there's theft going on and just guys are hollering mean things at women as they walk down the street.
It is funny to watch this. I had this thought when like they do like a LA montage and it is essentially a hellscape and then enter Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, this man is the future governor of this state. And
It really is.
it's kind of funny.
Your governor has arrived.
Your governor has arrived. There's a
Walking
little bit of
past
this now.
The homeless, people are trying to mug him. He's just sauntering down the street.
I'll just become governor.
So
anyway, kind of funny.
We go from LA to they have to meet their mom / deliver this engine. So they're driving from LA to Texas and they go through New Mexico, which honestly, New Mexico looked stunning. I thought that was a really nice depiction.
New Mexico's beautiful. Yeah.
Do this beautiful shot of the car going over. There's this great huge bridge over it's the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge, which I happened to see back in September because we did a vacation down in New Mexico. Yeah, like really beautiful. Taos looks great. All the art colonies and the landscapes and everything. So it's a wholly different movie than what we had going on in Los Angeles, except for they do a pit stop in Los Alamos, which is famous for its connection to the Manhattan Project and apparently its connection to this eugenics project that spit out an Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito pairing. They do this tour of the science lab.
Oh boy.
What the fuck is going on here?
The science lab is like the Halloween people in Nightmare Before Christmas trying to take over the Christmas holiday. It does look a little House of Horrors.
Like one of those prisons from the 1800s that you can tour if you're like in Australia or Dublin or wherever. Like, come visit our old haunted prison. Like,
don't mind the chains on the wall.
Yeah, like this creaky old door open, and there's this torture chamber with like stirrups, and they're like, "This
I
is where you
know.
were born."
It's very believable that if you told someone like, "Oh, sorry, they died," you'd be like, "Yeah, they probably did."
We didn't know about like antibiotics when we were performing in this room. We have a drawer full of pointy tools that are sharp.
Pointy
That
tools. It's
oh
so
my
weird.
god,
Yeah. It is a
yeah,
little
just
strange. Yeah. It's probably not that
I.
bad. It's not like the asylum in Bram Stoker's Dracula, which
It
is like
looks like it could have been a room extended off of that though. Like
maybe. Yeah.
there's a ghost of a dead 5-year-old in a nightshirt in the corner. Like, why? Anyway, they kind of shrug this off and then carry on to Houston, which, again, another urban 1980s hellscape.
Of course. All the
It's
cities
just,
were.
it's a place for crime. And this is
Definitely.
where Julius finally steals a car. So he's
Love it.
broken. He's broken bad, finally.
And he steals kind of a nice car too, so it's kind of fun.
I don't know if it's nice because isn't it like covered in guns and antlers or something?
Okay, it's like it looks like it's expensive, I'll say.
It probably was a nice car and then it got decorated to be the most like
It's a
stereotypical
tacky car.
yeehaw Texas kind of. What if Texas were a car? All right, here we go.
Here we go. It's a little tacky. Yeah, that last scene in Houston, so folks don't remember, it's where Danny DeVito storms off after he thinks his mom had passed away. Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, I could find him because I could sense him. And like he does find him and sort
Which
of
is
ends up, which is weird.
Another weird thing, but okay.
It's a plot hole. So that part's a little bit of a plot hole. The women just sort of disappear into the background, and Julius does end up saving Vincent. And then all the different layers of bad guys start fighting. But that last scene is like a little bit just, eh. I mean, it's fine. But I think, again, from a kid's eyes, I wish I had watched it with my kids. It's simple enough that I think the very clear good guy, bad guy would have been somewhat fun to watch. It's
Yeah,
certainly
this
not like
is-
other scenes from movies we've seen, even though Raiders of the Lost Ark or something, which we controversially said did not live up, had like really great.
That was you.
That was me. I know. Not sure if I regret it, but had really great good guy versus bad guy scenes. It's not at that level, I'd say.
So this final scene, they're in sort of an abandoned industrial
Yeah.
part of Houston. Danny DeVito's character Vincent is trying to do the handoff of this engine for a briefcase full of money, and Mr. Webster, the assassin, has followed him. We're getting into this whole, okay, we're in this dark abandoned, I don't know what kind of factory it was, but little cat and mouse, we're running this way, and where's Mr. Webster, and who's gonna shoot who first, and oh, Julia showed up, and okay, now it's the twins, and I feel like this is not cliche, but I feel like it was a predictable sort of, oh, is he gonna give it up to save his brother? Yes, he is. But oh, are they gonna defeat the bad guy? Yes, they will. And
I mean, through the scene, like Vincent sort of, you see his final crack that his brother's important to him. And then they really start to work together. So I didn't mind that. But it is kind of dumb, but I accept it.
It went on a little bit long for me because it just wasn't anything new or exciting from a movie standpoint. Maybe from a brotherly love standpoint.
It's a bit like for the G and the PG rating, I think. It's very simple.
And then they comically drop a chain on Mr. Webster, and it just keeps falling and falling and falling. And okay, they've smothered him under this giant chain. They're just standing there watching it. Like,
I was saving this for my random thought, but I love that this is the second episode we've done where a villain dies via death by chain. Of course, the first one being Die Hard. Famous
although he
scene.
didn't really die, did he? Because he came running out with a machine gun at the end.
Yeah, but he should have died. So I'm gonna still
Yeah.
call it a death by chain in Die Hard.
Actually, yeah, we decided he was a zombie when he finally came
I think we
running out of the
did.
building,
It was
right?
just nerve
Kill the
endings.
zombie.
That's Die Hard, but I actually remember the chain part from when I was a kid, and I think as a kid I thought it was funny. My kid brain it sort of diffused the tension. It's not really a life or death for the good guys because a chain, like as if this is a cartoon, keeps falling on the villain's head. And there's
Yeah.
something a little funny. And then afterwards, like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger are just like tiptoeing around the chain, like, yeah, he's probably dead. We can go, right? Like, it's kind of funny.
It is, yeah, it's a very comedy, lighthearted. The good guys didn't actually kill that character, even though they killed him. Like the way Disney didn't really kill a lot of their bad guys around this time. Like we just
Yeah,
threw
it's-
Gaston off a cliff, but like he fell.
No, they killed that bitch. Gaston died. That was like epic.
It wasn't until The Lion King came out where they threw Scar to the hyenas, where it was like, oh, they murdered that guy. Whoa.
Yes, yes.
That's a death. That guy got shredded by hyenas. Oof.
Yeah, that's a bad one. But that was my random thought. I love
that
the
is
second
your
death
random
by
thought.
chain.
Let's move to a random thought. You can hear my hesitation.
I know, I don't like
it. Rewatching it, it felt like a Saturday Night Live skit. The pairing of the two of them is visually hilarious, but that was the bit. Just put the two of them standing next to each other in as many locations as possible and matching outfits. And that is very visually funny. But beyond that, I felt like this movie couldn't figure out what kind of movie it was trying to be. Like, it isn't totally a family feel-good, heartwarming movie. It's not totally a road trip movie. It's not totally a crime drama. And I just found that a little unsteady and not amazing. For me, that was moving away from random thoughts into more of what sucks or is cringy.
So I totally see your point. And there are certain things I did find a little cringy. Like there's nothing for the women in this. It's a little bit of a waste. No. But, you know, I just sort of accepted the premise. I did think it was a little weird at the beginning, but I actually thought it was okay that it was a little genreless. Like it's a little bit slapstick. It's a little bit heartwarming. I mean, ultimately to me, the heartwarming won out of all those things. Probably on the back of Danny DeVito being like his character arc was really good.
He's carrying this. He's done such a great job.
He was carrying this, and it really still came through to me as an adult. It worked for me. And this is where sometimes this happens, that I'm able to overlook that cringe because I probably have more nostalgia for it. And I do think it could have been okay for kids because it was simple. I think an older kid would be like, this is really lame. I would be pretty certain that Lily would think this is dumb or cringe. Who's 13. But I think this would be right up my son's alley at age 8. I mean, not as much as Wayne's World, which is our previous episode. There's an intelligence to that humor that is just devastatingly funny. Yeah. That is not here. But it is a simple movie. And if we lived in the age of cable television and that's all you got, it probably would still somewhat resonate. I'm really trying to pitch you on this and I'm finding myself failing. But what's good about it? Do you have anything good? Is there anything you liked?
I think Danny DeVito's performance, it does transform how you feel about him. And I do find Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance, there is a little bit of endearing, he's so hopeful that he meets his brother and he wants to put the family together. So those parts are cute. If that had been the core of this movie and there hadn't been this engine heist going on in the background, that would have been a much better movie for me. But the fact that they're kind of wedging this crime caper in,
I liked the crime caper because I think it would have been too schmaltzy if it was just the heartfelt stuff and not the crime caper, because the crime caper sort of allowed more humor in there.
I thought the crime caper made it just dark. You see the assassin just blatantly shoots the buyer at one point.
Yeah.
That just felt like a different movie was going on.
I was okay with the combination because I was okay having the higher stakes, a little bit of violence with humor and heartfelt. I thought all those ingredients kind of still worked for me. I think if I didn't watch it a ton as a kid, I would probably have a reaction like yours. I think this is ultimately one of those movies, and this is part of my closing argument, because part of me is like, there are sweet elements, and then when the mom comes at the end and is like, reunites with them.
Here, you guys got to split this teddy bear in half.
Right. Because I only brought one.
Yeah. Ever heard of King Solomon? Cut the bear.
Cut the bear.
Who's the real twin here?
Oh my God. But I was like, why am I crying at this stupid movie?
No, really? I did not cry at all.
No, I didn't really cry. I didn't. I think I felt more the emotion of the scene because of that. I was like, this movie has no right to be this endearing.
But you're with me that the payoff is the mom reuniting with them. That's the happy ending.
The payoff.
That's what we're getting to. So the fact that they go sell an engine, get $5 million, they end up giving it back because the whole thing was stolen.
They got to have the morals.
But that just makes all of those murders completely unnecessary. Like, they just gave the money back.
But the thing is that what I like about it is that Julius reforms Vincent in a way. That's why I think you needed the crime caper, because you needed the positive influence of Julius. And I know that it's all very heavy-handed, right? Like Vincent's character is total lowlife, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is ridiculous in every form, even physically. To me, it was like more of a lighter shade of gray, and I think you saw it as a little darker. So
Yeah, I'm seeing Nazi scientists and eugenics and a lot of murders, and somehow this got a PG rating and not a PG-13. I think they were still figuring out what PG-13 was.
See, I was like, I think it would have been okay, because like I felt more sensitive to the violence again with Raiders watching with my kids. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is so violent. Whereas I thought this level of violence was okay. There's not that high of a body count.
They
parents.
murder
It's okay.
a lot of people.
Just a little bit of people, like 3 people. Typically, I'm the one that clutches pearls, but you are definitely all pearl clutching.
Well, no, this is just a sign of the time. This movie came out just a year or two after PG-13 became a thing, and I think they just didn't know.
Right, they weren't.
Yet.
Well, that's fair. Listen, I can't wait to see how different our ratings are. Just 2 episodes, you and I gave When Harry Met Sally the same rating.
We
for everything.
lined up perfectly on that one.
But how this will go. So we rate this 1 to 10. First, does it live up to us as adults? 1 being garbage, 10 being Princess Bride, and then we do the same scale. Would it live up to kids today? Typically, we have my kids as a reaction, or you have like your neighbor's kids as a reaction. We don't have that here. So I have my ratings. They're written down. I'm curious what you're saying for adults.
I think we're both going to surprise each other, but we'll see.
Oh.
Or maybe not.
Maybe. What's your number?
I think we're going to differ. All right. My adult ranking, having not seen this in decades, but I got to go like 4.
Oh.
You
went down to Ferris Bueller levels.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy this.
I feel like this is your Pee Wee Herman. When I watched that movie, I was like, I cannot go above a 4. And you thought I was nuts.
I thought this was below average. So, yeah, I didn't love watching this as an adult. So, 4.
Right. I went as high as a 6.5.
Okay.
You know what it is? I had low expectations because I had seen this so much as a kid. I was like, this can't possibly live up. And I was really ready for it to like overrun me with cringe. And I was a little surprised that it wasn't that bad. And so I enjoyed watching it. I split this viewing over 2 nights, and I intended to actually stop it a lot earlier, but I actually ended up watching most of it on the first night. I don't know, 6.5.
It made you happy. It sparked joy. All right.
It sparked joy. I just really liked it.
That's your Nightmare Before Christmas score.
Oh, really?
For adults.
Okay, no, I'm going to stick with it. Like, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's we got
10 and a half,
which is already more than the Santa Claus movie we watched.
Oh God, yeah.
So the next same scale, 1 to 10, 10 Princess Bride, 1 garbage. But this one is 4. Does it live up for kids today? And I think that this is a weird thing to say because we're talking about the violence and stuff. I think it could be more geared towards slightly younger kids, not too young. But any kid over like 11 is going to think this is really stupid.
That's weighing on me. It's a mix of that. And then I don't know how silly it is for kids today who didn't grow up with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger being the separate buckets of actors that they were like, oh, we're pairing these 2 together. Isn't it wild? I don't know if this is as funny to kids today as it would have been for us.
I mean, I think that's fair. I'm now thinking I went really high with my number, but
we don't know what your number is yet. I still think this is a little below average for kids too. Like, I'm gonna go 4.5.
4.5. I think there's something fun about the reformed bad guy, but I never thought that Vincent was that bad. So I went 5.5, so a bit higher. In this discussion, I'm like, maybe I went a little too high. And the reason why is because I was thinking that it was like, I could have a sweet spot if like an 8 or 9-year-old would like it. I could be talked down to a 5 only because I do think older kids would be like, who don't have the nostalgia would be like, this might be dumb. Maybe it's cringy. I do think it read younger to me than I thought it would.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to bump it down to a 5. So not too far off. Like, I bet if I had my kids watch it, my daughter would have left halfway through, and my son probably would have watched the whole thing.
She walked out of Wayne's World, didn't she?
She kind of did, but I think she just like wasn't in the mood to watch that. But my son loved Wayne's World, loved it.
I mean, we loved Wayne's World.
I
It
don't
was a
think my
party.
son would have liked this as much as Wayne's World, though.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So I'd say a 5.
And I'm thinking of other movies I watched as a kid that had an element of like the odd couple pairing, but also there's a crime story going on. Like I'm specifically thinking of Turner and Hooch and just the fact that there's a cute dog in it.
I think
fighting
honestly the
crime.
closest thing I could think of is Moana, because you have it's essentially a demigod.
Moana?
Yeah.
You're comparing this to Moana?
Yeah. Because you have the physical differences, because you have a demigod pairing up with essentially a child and they're like equals. Okay, that was a dumb thing.
Yeah, I don't like this comparison.
We don't like this comparison. All right. I don't think I do either. But wait, so what's our total score?
We are at 20.
Oh no, we're at 20. So that's a little low for us. So that's that, but 20 is exactly middle of the road. And so the final question is, does it live up? Yay or nay? We both need to agree. I've been trying hard in my attempts at like providing evidence in my court case against Amanda's lack of nostalgia and like losing pretty terribly. I now am questioning whether it lives up. I'm not sure. Not sure.
Well, it only takes one of us to sink it. We have to be unanimous in saying that something lives up.
I refuse to
Who
sing
wants
it.
to go first, Jess?
I'm gonna say it lives up only because I know you're gonna sing.
You're watching my facial expression. I'm shaking my head over here.
It's better than you thought, listeners. It's better than you thought. Don't listen to Amanda.
Unless you were me.
I did find a little bit more to appreciate about it. I did really like Vincent's character.
Not.
I'm still really trying. So, what do you say, Amanda? It doesn't live up.
Oh, it's a no for me. I don't want to watch this again. And this ruined my memory of watching it when I was a kid. It got worse. That's so disappointing. Sad. It's got a Nazi scientist at the beginning.
Couldn't let the Nazis go. It does not live up. So listeners, you may agree, you may disagree. At Live Up Pod on all the socials. Don't stop listening yet, because we're going to go through some viewer feedback right after this. But let us know what you think. Do you think Amanda's like a total Debbie Downer? Do you think I am totally ridiculous in my nostalgia? Either way.
More importantly, do you have a link to the draft of Triplets, which is the sequel of this? Because we both want to read that.
All right, let's go through some listener feedback.
All right. Well, we have been hearing from multiple listeners since our episodes, let's go all the way back to Christmas, starting with The Year Without a Santa Claus, which Jess and I hated. That was the worst thing we've ever
Listen to the
reviewed.
episode, skip the movie is what I'd say.
Yes.
You could enjoy the episode, because I think you and I were like, what? I think we had a lot to drink, but anyway.
So our feedback on this movie, during that review, we questioned, what is the gout and why is it keeping Santa Claus in bed?
Such a random story plot.
Santa had the gout. He can't go out this year. Let's send the elves, and just nonsense ensues. I've since learned that one of my neighbors actually has the gout. That's still a thing. And another neighbor who works at Mass General Hospital specified that it's basically a form of arthritis where you get urate crystals in your joints and it causes sharp pain. So very fortunate. I hope my neighbor recovers quickly who has the gout. Hope Santa Claus recovers quickly.
That is such a like weird. I know when we recorded the episode, we're like, "What's the gout?" We're like,
it just sounded like an old timey thing that isn't a disease anymore.
It's such a weird thing to put into a plot of a kids movie. It's so weird.
So the gout is caused by drinking a lot of alcohol or sugary drinks and eating red meat or shellfish. So Santa. Lay off the cookies, lay off the booze,
lay off the sauce, Santa.
And stop eating the reindeer if that's what's going on up there. Because now you have the goat and it's the year without Santa. Gross. So yes, thank you to my neighbors who chimed in on what the gout is and how Santa probably got it.
I like how the conclusion of this is that Santa's on the sauce and eating the reindeers. And that somehow what made it into this movie. That might have been a better movie. Anyway.
The prequel is very dark. It's like leaving Las Vegas, but it's leaving the North Pole. He's just drinking himself into the gout.
Good Lord.
All right, we digress. Then we had our When Harry Met Sally episode. We had a few people reach out to us about the Super Bowl ad that appeared with Harry and Sally, played by Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. It was for Mayonnaise. Still very funny. We were all happy to see them.
We did not know about that before we recorded the episode.
We did not. That was just a well-timed episode.
It was.
Special shout out to my former colleague Casey, who texted me as that commercial played, saying that she recalled the Muppets Tonight parody.
Nice.
With, Harry and Miss Piggy. She called it a core memory. So that good memory, Casey, and thanks for that feedback. Also, the same episode, shout out to writer Jane Foley, listener, and she texted me
Jane.
that she was listening to our episode while speedwalking through the park in spandex.
Nice.
So, yes. We love the speedwalking in spandex scenes, so thank you for sharing that.
There's plenty of men in spandex speedwalking through Central Park in When Harry Met Sally. So.
And I have no memory of what they said.
No, they were having these heart-to-heart conversations, which is what was funny.
All right. And then our last episode before this one that you're listening to, we did Wayne's World. And this one, I need to issue a correction because I said Rob Lowe was a cast member on Saturday Night Live. He was not, but he used to host frequently when he was part of the Brat Pack. He was in so many skits that I just, in my head, he was in the cast. So, yes, that's my correction from Wayne's World. Sorry for misleading you.
One funny thing about the Wayne's World episode, when I was watching the movie with my son, I had forgotten about the scene with the cue cards for Wayne's World, where Wayne has the cue cards, and each cue card on live television is insulting his guest, ending with an arrow pointing to the guest saying, "This man has no penis." And I have had two people now tell me they completely remembered that scene, and they're like, "Oh, what did your kids think about that scene with the cue cards?" And I'm like, "How did you remember that?" So I'm like the only person who did not remember that. And it was told by my brother, who had requested this episode, Twins, that I've lost all credibility in anything with parenting because I was laughing too hard at that to tell my son that he should never do something like that. But anyway.
Well, we are looking forward to future listener feedback from your son's principal when he gets in trouble for making that dick joke in class.
Oh my God.
In the meantime, though, if you would like to send us some listener feedback, you know where to find us. We're liveuppod@gmail.com. We're on some of the socials with that handle.
I don't really do the Twitter anymore.
Yeah, kind of.
But, you know, we're
Facebook,
there. We're on all the socials you care about.
But yeah, you can find us if you want to. And then we're at liveuppod.com. Also, if you know us personally, shoot us a text or just give us a call. We'd like to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. But everyone, thanks for listening and keep the mailbag full. We'll talk to you soon.